Okay, welcome everybody. Um, Thank you for joining us. Sorry, I'll just turn the. My son has been put on uh, TV for a bit. All right. So, welcome everyone. Welcome to the first event at Re-Cognising Dance. We've been on a break for a full year almost, and there are various reasons for this, which I won't get into at the moment. But just to give you a recap for those of you who are joining us for the first time, Recognizing Dance is an online platform that was started by Mahalakshmi Prabhakar and myself. I'm Aranyani Bhargav. And we started this platform in 2020 when there were a lot of discussions going on about the history of Bharatanatyam and all kinds of misconceptions were going around. There was a lot of furious debate as well. And as we were getting more and more into these discussions and debates, we realized how much misinformation was being spread. And so at that time, Mahalakshmi and our friendship also grew. And we both discovered that we were both very, very interested in trying to dispel some of these misinformation and some of this kind of the way the discourse was going, how destructive it was, and how there wasn't any room for dialogue. So we wanted to create a space. It was also during the pandemic, so we didn't have much scope to do anything on offline and in person. So we started this online platform called Recognizing Dance. And we were very delighted by the response from 2020 to now. We've had some of the world's best and most eminent dance scholars speak at this platform about various issues regarding the history of dance. Over time, we also realized that both of us are Bharatanatyam dancers, but we realized that if we wanted to make this a discussion about Indian dance on the whole, that we would have to expand to other dance forms. So we had discussions on Odissi, on Kathak, on Satriya rather, and it kind of expanded in that manner. And we also decided that we were going to talk about things that were not just about the history of Indian dance, but also about current and contemporary issues that dancers face in India, that may be specific to India or maybe even globally. And so we decided to divide our conversations into two separate categories. One is called the Scholar Series, which is where the dance scholars come and they have spoken to us about various dance histories. And then we had a series called Discouraged, which was not formed with the basis of necessarily talking about something that discouraged dancers, but something that possibly could discourage dancers. And this is why this discussion today falls under that series. Just to reiterate, because I think some of the panelists were also concerned that this discussion may be viewed as being about how motherhood is discouraging. That's not at all what it is, what it's meant to be. It's just part of a larger series where we discuss whether certain factors are or aren't discouraging factors for dancers. And today it happens to be on motherhood and careers, and how motherhood affects careers. So welcome everyone to this discussion today called the Motherhood Penalty. The reason why this discussion is called the Motherhood Penalty is because, according to a lot of research done by economists and experts in the area, only half of the women are in the labor force between the ages of 25 and 54, whereas 95% of men remain in the labor force. And this change in the labor force between men and women's employment, you can see this change starting to come at the time of the birth of the first child. And largely, there is a graph that shows how the men's participation in the labor force kind of stays the same, but the women's labor force comes down quite a bit after the birth of the first child. And this is mainly because childcare tends to fall overwhelmingly on women. And there are some women that return to work after they've gone through the initial stages of motherhood and pregnancy, but there are many, many women that do not return to the labor force after they've had a child. And of course, this varies very much on where this phenomenon is occurring. So, for instance, in first world countries, there is a different phenomenon. In third world countries, it's a different phenomenon. In developing countries, it's a different phenomenon. So, of course, that's why I think one of the questions when I put this first out there was also, why are we talking only about Indian dance forms, or why are we only talking about India? And the reason for that is that it's so specific to different areas that we decided for now just to focus on Indian dancers and what their experiences of this are. So welcome to our panelists, Antika, Prija, Mira. May I request, before we begin the session, for everyone to, for all the viewers to make sure that they're on mute, just so that we don't have any disturbance while the panelists are speaking. And I'd also like to remind you to put your phones on silent. And finally, to say that this is to remind you that Recognizing Dance is one of the few platforms that is not a platform where everyone speaks and then we say bye bye. This is an interactive platform, so we encourage all the viewers, whether you are mothers, whether you are fathers, whether you're not mothers, not fathers, whether you're dancers or not, to speak and interact with us once I have stopped speaking. Mute someone speaking. Yeah. So with that, welcome Avantika, Mira, and Prija. I'm really, really happy to have you here. And let's get started. Should we start with Avantika? Just before that, just to give the viewers an idea of the kind of questions that I was asking the panelists. They're mainly questions about whether or not we hesitated to have children because we thought it would affect our careers. What prompted you to make that decision to have or not have a child? How did this decision to have a child affect your dance career through pregnancy, through childbirth, postpartum, and as your children were growing up? And what sort of support were you hoping for during this journey? Did you receive that support? Did you not receive that support? And what have been the biggest triumphs and struggles during while you're juggling motherhood and your dance careers? And finally, what do you make of this concept of the motherhood penalty, and what do you expect society, yourselves, your partners, your family, the larger dance community on to ease this motherhood penalty? Could I please request everyone to mute yourselves? And Avantika, I hand it over to you.
Thanks, Aranyani. And first of all, thank you so much for kickstarting conversations around motherhood in the arts. I feel like it should have happened maybe 2 decades ago, but well, here we are, and it's never too late to begin. I'm actually going to look through the questions you had sent us, because otherwise, without a structure, I feel like I'll really ramble on. So I'm just going to take each, your questions, respond to them, and then perhaps just close with some final thoughts. Actually, I was thinking about, did I hesitate to have children? And for me, for a very long time, I wasn't really thinking about children. But when we did decide to start a family, I felt very ready. And some of the factors that kind of contributed to that was that I felt that there were, I felt that I felt like I was in a good place in my career, and I had been able to achieve a few things that were important to me in my career graph. And I was also ready to sort of kind of knowingly go into slowing my body down, physically, mentally, emotionally, etc. I knew what it would take, especially for an active performer and dancer, to get pregnant. And I felt like I was ready. Of course, nobody can ever be prepared, and pregnancy throws you off in ways that one cannot imagine, and postpartum. But yeah, I think that a lot of it was to do with how I felt at that point in my career, and what my relationship to dance was at that point. How it affected my dance career actually, I had both my pregnancies were very difficult, and both my postpartum phases were also very difficult. And we actually went into lockdown 3 months after I had my first child, and I conceived my second child during the last wave of the pandemic. So a lot of it, I mean, I was also negotiating with a lot of things while the world was in general recalibrating. And so while I was sort of looking at my kind of coming to terms with my changing body, sort of renegotiating what my relationship of trust with my body was, and also sort of looking at what the world was doing at large in terms of sort of moving online. These debates around how do you make work online, how do you teach. In some ways, it worked for me because soon after, I delivered, I was able to move online to the online model. So I didn't feel that I was falling off the tracks. But also in other ways, I think it was very hard because I wasn't. There was a lot of things that I didn't have access to as a new mother because the world had shut down completely, and so there was a lot of sort of coming to terms with that. Um, and I think that's the support I felt that I could have done with as a new mom. I feel like, it's now said that your postpartum phase lasts for 7 years. So I still have a long way to go because my kids are 4 and 2. But I think, I feel like there was, I think socially, the support that I could have done with was just not questioned around my choices as a mother. There's a lot of sort of still in today's day and age, there's a lot of sort of talking about and asking why you are making certain choices. And a lot of people can come with very single experiences, and therefore that becomes the last word. And I think that can leave a new mother who is also just emerging generally from the pandemic, feeling very, very vulnerable. And I felt that was a very difficult space for me, and it took a while to kind of figure. And this is also in the arts. There's always a conversation around we did this with our children. It's not so difficult, but I feel like there has to. I think generally the language that we use around new mothers can be thought of a little bit more gently. Um, Having said that, the kind of support I received has been quite phenomenal as well, because when I did resume working on other people's projects after the birth of my second child, I was able to really advocate for myself, and there was space to support me through the decisions and boundaries that I was drawing. And it was a very satisfying and fulfilling experience because my last 3 projects were led by men, and it was very comforting to know that I had space to be heard and supported as a new mother in the arts. The biggest struggling between juggling career the struggle between juggling career and motherhood for me personally has been easing out on, I guess, the hustle culture that we are taught to kind of I think we are all taught. I can speak for myself. I was always taught, like a dancer, this kind of rigor, this kind of discipline, these many hours, this is the timeline for making a work, etc. And it's taken a long time for me also to kind of unlearn some of those habits that don't hold me in good stead anymore. Maybe as a young dancer, they were helpful for me, but they're not anymore because, as a mom of 2 very young children, I can't, it's hard for me to have certain timelines and structures that feel like they can't move and shift. So in some way, while it has been a struggle to unlearn that, it has also been, now that I'm slightly on the other side of it, it feels like it's a good place to be. The motherhood penalty, There was something very interesting that you said about how women uh, go back, the choices that they make about going back into the workforce. And there is, about it's been about a year and a half, but I am the co-founder of a platform that supports young mothers, and it supports women in the first 1,000 days of their motherhood journey, which is from the time that they are pregnant until the child is two, because it's actually at the time that the child is two that they're making that final decision about whether they're going to go back to their careers or whether they're going to resume. And so that is such a critical phase. And I find that conversation around that is very, very limited. There is a lot of sort of bias and also a lot of assumption that the mom has it figured out. And whereas I feel like just the way, there is a sort of gentleness and kindness around the birth of the baby towards the baby. I feel like that's stripped away because the assumption is that the mother has their shit together, which they usually don't. And there's also so many changes in the first year or 2 years of motherhood. So I think that the um, I also find that there's a lot of baggage that comes with the word penalty, but in general, I feel that there can be a little bit more room for advocacy and agency for a new mother, whether it's in their careers or with family or with friends. And I think that generally, as a society, the more we talk about it, the more we will be able to make room for it. Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Avantika. God, you've said so many things and touched upon so many points. And I mean, I personally could resonate a lot with the struggles of being a new mother during the pandemic, because I was also just 8 or 9 months into being a mother when the first lockdown happened. I hope that we'll be able to talk about more of what you've said. In the meantime, let's move on to Prija.
Hi, everyone. Yeah. My name is Prija Mahendran. I am a Bharatanatyam artist. I have been practicing this art form for more than 30 years, and I'm based in Bangalore, originally from Kerala. Um, I I first thank Karnyani and Mahalakshmi for this recognizing dance, inviting me to be part of this topic. Such a thought-provoking topic, uh, a major awareness initiative, I would say. Uh, and I have a daughter who is 14 years old. So yeah, got I became a mother when I was 23 years old, very young. So, uh, when I am talking about motherhood, I have to go back to when I was a young mother, because that was the phase I had to go through a lot of struggle. And uh, I am sure, like any mother here would be able to understand who has got a teenager or a older child. Like, the initial stages is where we actually, and we learn a lot through that process. So yeah, becoming a mother is a major life goal for any or most of the women. But what does it look like when you are a dancer? That is the topic here. Um, as when became a mother, I was very young. I can frankly say I couldn't connect my motherhood and career because I was just going with the flow. But nobody prepared me how to handle motherhood. Uh, all I could hear was the good things and the sweetest things that you will experience as a mother. So I never even thought, and I never had a doubt about whether I want to become a mother, because I always dreamt of having a child. So since I was very young, and I'm talking about 2009, there was a lack of awareness, I would say, because I didn't have much idea about like how my body is going to change or anything. So I just went with the flow. And up until 6 months, it was all fine. Um, and after that, due to medical reasons also, I saw social conditioning as well, like, and the advice from the people around. You have to eat for two people. You have to, you should take rest. You can't move. If I try to, choreograph something, if I try to dance a little bit, because that's all I could think about, because there were no much of social media or anything that time. So, I was restricted to an extent, even by my doctor for that matter. So after 6 months, I started putting on weight. Um, that is actually when I started connecting my career uh, to motherhood or pregnancy for that matter. Uh, so still I had confidence in me saying, like, because I've never put on weight. I all through my childhood, what I've heard is like, you're so thin. And after my 6 month, by the time I was about to deliver, I was almost 85 kgs. And that was something I also couldn't digest myself. But people around made it even more worse by asking me questions like, how are you going to dance? Are you going to dance again? That was actually one of the main thing, actually, like, where I actually question my faith in myself. When I thought like, oh, I after delivery I'll be able to dance. But when I keep hearing these kind of questions and talks, I actually started doubting myself whether I will be able to dance or not. So this was one of the first struggle I had to overcome. Um, it was not easy. Definitely was not easy. After delivery, getting back, that journey was also not definitely easy, because of course, to make things worse, it was a C-section. And of course, we need to have that waiting period before I started. So I was so frustrated, of course, with all the postpartum anxiety, depression, all of those coming together. It was definitely not easy. To make it worse, again, people around actually made it even more worse, I would say. I mean, that was the main struggle I had to. Maybe they are not asking to hurt you intentionally, but those questions, those talks actually, uh, put me in a place where I actually thought whether I would be able to dance or not. But ultimately, I somehow managed, and, I found time. That's also one more thing, with a newborn attached to us 90% of the time. Finding time to exercise to reduce the weight so that we can get back to dance was one of the biggest challenge I had to, because again, when we are trying to figure out how we can go ahead, there are restrictions, uh, blaming, saying like, you're not prioritizing your child, you're prioritizing your career. Your does dance come before your child? So these kind of things actually made me think, did I do something wrong? So that was one phase. That was one of the biggest phase, I would say, like, I had to really work hard to overcome. And then one more thing I really faced, was around 6 months. I decided I want to, gradually get back. So I'm gonna apply for a job in an academic school where I'm gonna be a dance teacher, so that I will have a daily routine. And not just because I want to get back, but of course, due to financial crunches, I had to. So, I went for the interview, and one of the questions she asked me was, "Are you planning for a second child?" Um, that again, made me think, like, can't a mother be ambitious? Can't a mother dream bigger? So these questions, like, actually was one of the greatest struggles if you ask me, like, I had gone through. And definitely, if you ask me now, definitely I overcame that. Uh, of course, there are other factors which helped me. I would say one more incident. I would say, like, I had gone. So after probably like my child was around 6, 7, and I started going because I always wanted to perform. Um, I for me, performance was like always the priority than teaching. Uh, but definitely, I have to say, motherhood definitely helped me discover my skill of teaching. That's a different thing. But I started giving auditions to work in on as an ensemble with different companies. Again, one of the incident happened was when I gave audition. What she told me was, "You're a good dancer, but you need to lose a lot of weight, to fit into our expectation with other dancers." So again, I still remember the way I came back, and I was thinking like, um, if I can't lose weight, won't I be able to dance? And then I have to say, like, see, these are the struggles I had to go through. These are the things which I heard, which actually made me doubt myself. But I also have to say, like, later I auditioned for uh, Vyuti and Anitaka's Padme production. When I went for the Padme audition also. I was auditioned and then I was selected. I have traveled with the production in multiple shows across India. Uh, I still remember something Anataka said, like, a mother can also dream. Mother can be ambitious. You don't have to stop everything because you're a mother. You still has got time, and this is the time you have to explore. Those words literally resonated. And one of the similar thing I would say is like, when I auditioned for Yuti with Taranyani, I requested her if I requested, like, if I can avoid like the early morning rehearsals because I want to be there with my child when she's leaving to school. And she was so accommodative. So these kind of incidents which actually helped me, as a person in my journey to rethink. It's not, if we have the right support, especially when it comes to, like, people we are working with, especially when it comes to classical dance field, or it depends on co-artists and their support also means a lot. So when this happened, uh, definitely it motivated me to challenge myself and dream bigger. These why I'm saying these two things, because I there was a phase I actually doubted myself, and due to multiple reasons, the support I didn't get. And when I was given support, how we were motivated to challenge ourselves. So that is very, very important in this space, is what I. And of course, yes, as a wife, I had good support from my husband when it comes to raising a child. Never I was made to feel that raising a child was a mother's job. So that actually helped me. Like, if I could travel with Anitaka, or if I could travel with Armiani, or I could do some shows elsewhere, and when because there was travel, I was not there at home when she was young. um, it happened just because he gave me the faith that she is safe and things are going to be okay. So the support I got definitely mattered. So it motherhood is something very personal, but I know there are certain common points we can discuss about, where we can bring some changes in some or the other way. um, Especially, like, I'm sure, like, this discussion in itself, when we are sharing our experiences, I'm sure, like, someone or the other is going to think about it, or whoever had doubt, they are going to think about it, or if they have already in that phase. So definitely this is something really thought provoking, which, as Avantika told, like, which should have happened decades back. But yes, because I spoke from that phase, that's why I just thought, like, for a new mom and for a mom who has a teenager, now if you ask me, it's a different story. If you ask me, like, 10, 12 years back, it was a different story. And we learned a lot in this journey, of course. Yeah. So, yeah. And, penalty in the sense, like, see, this, I kind of like thought of all the questions, and I kind of like summarized it into some of the incidents I experienced, so that people can understand what my story is as a motherhood. Yeah, I think I'll talk to Mira.
Thank you, Prija. You've actually raised a lot of points. I hope that it'll be a trigger for a nice interaction, fruitful interaction later. I just wanted to quickly clarify that the motherhood penalty is not a term that I have dubbed. It's actually a term that the economists use. It's the term for how the labor force comes down in terms of the count of women, and that they dub the motherhood penalty. So just to make that clear, that I wasn't that recognizing dance, or we're not saying that motherhood is a penalty of any kind, but that's that dip in the labor force in women after their first child, and the fact that the childcare falls overwhelmingly upon women globally, not just in India, but globally, it overwhelmingly falls on women. That phenomenon is called the motherhood penalty. Just to make it clear to all the viewers. And on to Mira.
Yeah, thanks for making that clear, Aranyani, because yeah, I think I had raised that also on the group. And for me, my children are the best motivators and cheerleaders. So I will definitely not consider motherhood as a penalty. So yeah. Yeah. Um, I think even I need a structure. How did the motherhood affect your career? No, the first one is, did you hesitate to have a child? Yes, I did. So I had my son 18 years ago. He's almost going to be 18 now. So I'm a teenage mother in that sense. And I finally feel I'm not alone. So thanks for doing this. Because back then, I had nobody to look up to, or, look for examples. I was the only one in the company. So I am from Bangalore, and I started my career with Articulary Center for Movement Arts. And I got pregnant while I was in the company, actively dancing in the company. So the pregnancy was not planned. It came as a shocker. And I had just then signed contract, and I had so many performances lined up. So in a way, I was in the peak of my career. And this happened, and I said, no ways, I'm going to abort my child. And then my ex-partner and I went to the artistic director. We told him, look, this has happened, but my decision is I'm going to abort my child. And he said, yeah, it's your choice, terminate. And the moment he used the word terminate, I was like, what? You're asking me to kill my child? So I totally, and then he said, no, it's completely your choice. And, and back then we were already talking about supporting women and mothers, and women coming back to dancing after pregnancy. So I think I was the first one, or probably even the last right now, to to have undergone pregnancy while I was in the company, and I was actively dancing. I was performing on stage till 4.5 months, and right from fifth month to ninth month, I was actively dancing in the company, in the rehearsals and teaching and all that. So I consider my pregnancy one of the best months of my life, and that happened only because of support. The kind of support system that was there in the company, and my ex-partner and family and friends, only because of that I was able to do. And my doctor, the moment I went to her and I said, this is what it is, and I'm really scared, I have commitments in the company, she said, Mira, you are pregnant, you're not a patient. And that sentence took a long way for me. So pregnancy was amazing. The reality hit in when the child came. After 3 months, I went back to the company. I started dancing actively. And then when I started traveling again with the company, the motherhood guilt started kicking in. I had to leave my child, and when during travel, I had to throw my breast milk, and every time I would do that, I would cry and come back and feed my child. So that became really torturous. So by the time my son was 2, I quit the company. I wanted to quit the company, but not dancing. But this lack of support system, it kind of happened that I kind of quit dancing. I came out of that. I came out of the company. I came out of support system, and I felt like I jumped into a deep, dark ocean. I didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't know how to get back. And as soon as I quit the company, the way I dealt with it is I made a work with my then toddler who was 2 years old. So we made a piece together, and then I had few more children in the piece. I made a work, and then after that there was a hiatus, and then there was a comeback again. So this has been my pattern, where I take a break and I come back. So there are several comebacks for me. That has been my pattern. Um, mm, Penalty. What else have you asked? Yeah, how has the decision affected my career? The younger self would have said I lost on a lot of opportunities, but I think as I'm aging now, I feel motherhood has given me a lot of sensitivities and sensibilities, which I don't think I would have got if I was not a mother. And these sensibilities has helped me in my work, in making work, even in my dancing, even in my presence. Something has changed, and that has happened because of motherhood. I feel, and I think the most challenging thing is not having this support system. And somehow, yeah, I mean, when I see so many people here, I'm amazed that this is happening, and thanks for that. Yeah, really. Yeah. Um, what else? Yeah, I think I'm done.
All right. Thank you, Mira. Thanks to all three of you for speaking. Actually, there was supposed to be one more panelist, Meghna Das, who was going to give us the perspective of she's not a mother, or rather not a mother within brackets yet. And we were hoping to get her perspective, but she was a little tied up with house shifting. And from personal experience, I can tell you it's one of the most stressful things, aside from the apparently divorce and death. Apparently moving houses is the third most stressful thing, so I excused her for today. But thank you all three of you for speaking today. I think all of you brought up really different aspects of what this discussion was about, but at the same time, what all three of you said also kind of complemented. I could see the others nodding their heads when one of you was speaking. So I think we've between the three of you, we've managed to cover quite a large kind of area. I wanted to also talk about Mira, what you just said. Yeah,
Yeah, sorry. Can I add something?
of course.
Something just struck me right now. I think the way we look at dance also, if we like what Rija was mentioning, about the body image, or the things that the society made. I think the way we look at dance, if we look at it from a certain professional yardsticks, is when I think all these issues kind of come up. But I started dancing because it gave me a lot of joy, not because I wanted to make a career or ambition. I understand all of that is important, but I think somewhere down the line we forget the small thing, that sense of joy that comes from dancing. And I think when we put these protocols and yardsticks is when inclusivity kinds of goes out of the door. I just, yeah, thought I should add that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, but I also understand the other perspective of, for mothers who are trying to make a livelihood, for example, from
Yeah.
dance. then the perspective also can change, because then if you're expected in your household to be a contributing member in terms of monthly income and livelihood and all that, it then it does sometimes go beyond the joy of it, and it has to become
Absolutely. Yeah.
a thing. And in that situation, then it becomes really complicated if society or what's happening around you, or the motherhood penalty is kind of forcing you to rethink whether you can come back to the workforce or not, and whether you have a support system that will help you. I mean, even in terms of the way, I think, I mean, it's a totally different discussion, but even the way that reproductive healthcare in India functions, I think that's a whole other
Mm.
discussion to have. But it really is something that needs a lot of examining, re-examination. And Mira, what you said about termination and about abortion, I think is also something that is really important to kind of
Yeah.
bring up in a discussion like this, because there is so much stigma attached to it even now, even in progressive families and even in
Yeah.
progressive societies, about termination, and this idea of the fact that termination is killing your baby and all of that. But sometimes it's a valid question to ask yourself, and it's a valid it's a choice ultimately of the woman, because it's her
Exactly.
body. It's her body that's going to carry the child, and it's her body that is going to um, give birth to the child. And according to the motherhood penalty graph, it is her that's going to be, you know, the most impacted, positively or whatever, by the fact that they're going to have this child. So the fact that there are, you know, law enforcements in the United States, or whether there is the taboo here regarding abortion or termination of pregnancies, it's a valid point to bring up in a discussion like this, where we're talking about motherhood and careers, and you know, the various factors that fall into this. So thank you all for speaking. I would like to now open this discussion to the viewers. Just a quick do's and don'ts about the open discussion is when you do, if you choose to ask a question, please unmute, and also we'd love to see your face so that we know who we're talking to. So yeah, just that, actually, that's the only rule. So if anybody has any question, you can also put, if you're too shy to ask a question, or you're feeling uncomfortable asking the question, then please go ahead and ask the question in the chat box, and we can ask it for you. In the meantime, do either of the three of you have anything to add to this discussion? Okay, well, in that case, while we wait for people to muster up the courage to either get involved in the discussion or to comment on what you guys have said, I'd like to share my experience of the motherhood penalty as well. And it kind of, I just listening to the three of you, it was quite a like, there were so many parts of it that I was touched by, and uh, I could resonate with, because I did feel that vulnerability that you were talking about, Avantika, during, you know, in the thick of the pandemic. And it's a completely different situation to be um, a new mother and a first time mother during the pandemic. So I could completely resonate with that. At the same time, Prija, I could understand where you're coming from, having been, and Mira, both of you having been mothers for a lot longer than Avantika and I have been, and having not had to deal with being a baby, having a baby during the pandemic, but dealing with teenagers during a pandemic, and also having had babies, 17, 14 years ago, when these kind of discussions were even less likely to take place, and these kind of conversations were even less likely to happen, leave alone in platforms like this, but also with people in your families, people in people that you're working with professionally. So it was all, but at the same time, I could also feel like, yeah, these issues probably still exist today. This question of how do we come back from postpartum, um, not necessarily depression, but just the whirlpool of things that take place when you're going through that. And yeah, whether it's a cesarean section, or whether it's a natural birth, and how different it is when you're recovering from those kinds of things as well. I mean, for me, it was 2019 when I had a baby, and 2020 was the pandemic, and I was also trying to create new work at the time, and recognizing dance had also just begun, and it was a lot of things happening, and the pandemic in particular, when my family doesn't live in Bangalore. My parents are in Delhi, so to not have that parental support was also something that was something that I really kind of struggled with in a way that perhaps other mums who were not uh, giving birth and raising babies during the pandemic didn't maybe have that issue to deal with, because elderly people couldn't even come near us during the pandemic. So a lot of things that you all said really resonated with me. And another thing that I wanted to say out here, because I see from the viewers that there are a lot of mums that are here. Please, there are so many of you that are here that I know are mums and would like to say stuff. Oh, people have raised their hands. Yeah, so please do speak about your experiences. Please, let's have this an open conversation. I think I see Adya's hand. Adya, could you unmute yourself and also show us your face? Thank you.
I
Hi.
think Radhika
Um,
also had raised the hand.
Who did?
Radhika Kajal, she has also raised the hand.
I will have a look at this. Sorry, I'm managing this on my own today. Mahalakshmi has
so
left.
do you want to let Radhika go first? I'm fine with that if
No,
Radhika wants
that's
to go
fine.
first.
I've kind of pinned you. So I think go for it, and then after I'll go to Radhika and Shubha. I can see Radhika. Which Radhika? There are two Radhikas. Please, could you raise your hand again? Adya, please go ahead.
Thank you for that interesting discussion. I'm glad that we are now in a space that we are able to talk about this. My son is now as old as I was when I got married. So this was 2002. So he's 23 now. So what I just wanted to add a couple of things to the things that we could think about in holding this space collectively, is that at a time when I had my kid, and I will not name the person, a certain person in one of the funding bodies of classical dance said that पहले तो शादी कर लिया, अब बच्चा कर लिया, खत्म कर दो तुम career अपना, right? And right after the fact that I was denied that program, another woman went ahead and sort of pushed me out, took the program in, like for her. So I'm wondering if as mothers and would be mothers or single mothers or um, um, if we can hold space for each other in terms of solidarity, that this is not the kind of conversation that is acceptable, and we will in some ways, if I might use the word boycott, like you would for a sexual harassment case now, just because it sort of pushes your career ahead as a classical dancer. I hear that, but it's just detrimental to the field at large. And then when I got back to dancing, again, this whole image of what a dancer's body looks like and what a mother's body looks like is very different. There is something called a spread. People call it prosperity spread, motherhood spread, whatever. And you never, however fit you become, you never really fit back into your old costumes. You never really look the same in the mirror. You never really have like the same teeth, for God's sake. My kids took my teeth out of my, like, you never really have the same brain space um, to dance the way we used to. So, also, perhaps as women, we continue to hold a little compassionate space for what we expect women to be doing on stage. Like this ableist pushing. Um, what if you don't have support? And like Aranyani said, what if you have to make a living? And so, if we can also hold that space in terms of compassion, not for the women we know and we don't know, of what we expect from the technique of dance. What does a good Bharatanatyam dancer look like at, I don't know, after 2 kids and 2 cesareans and 2 abortions? It's like, yeah, I mean, we have no idea whether they have access to nutrition, exercise. That's all a privilege in so many ways. And the last thing was that when I did start getting back to dancing, there were times when I did not have a place to leave my kids. And there have been days when I have put my kids in the orchestra. just feeding them junk so that they would sit in the orchestra, praying as I was dancing, keep bhai, don't start running in the middle of it and say, Mama, like, my daughter was 3 years old. Bhaiya did this. And I'm just praying as I'm dancing that please don't let this happen. But also in terms of like how we don't demand these infrastructures in other places of work, of childcare. Where does a woman leave her child when she's dancing? Like you said, Rija, you found someone who was ready to accommodate rehearsal timings. But what if you didn't? So if we can also then, as a collectively taking this forward, to think of these systemic things, um, in terms of what we demand from the dance space as professionals, it would be, yeah, I just wanted to say that.
No, thank you so much. Actually, this is a really what you've said is really important. I for the last 2 years, actually, I've been attending this kind of a forum based in Europe that talks about exactly these kinds of things. I mean, of course, at the moment, it is, even though they are making huge efforts to make this truly global, but at the moment it is quite Europe centric, because I think that's where their experiences are, and that's how it is. But I have attended these, and they really are. They're forming organizations, and they're having movements, and they're putting systems into place for childcare, whether performance spaces are child friendly or family friendly. What we can do. So I've been a part of that collective for the last 2 years. It's
Yeah.
been really enriching, and it's also, I think it's an important, it's been very interesting for me to be able to offer a perspective outside of Europe, as some other dancing mamas also were, on it was quite an enlightening kind of dialogue, because suddenly we would say that, hey, but in India what you're saying is not even feasible, or what you're talking about that can happen in a country like Germany is not possible in a country like India for this reason. But it really did, they've been encouraging us to start these little networks within our own countries as well. And maybe this can become a springboard for something like that, where we continue to have ongoing conversations about how to rope in actual systems in place where you can have childcare when you're in rehearsal, or if you're performing at a studio, that you demand for these kind of things to happen. I mean, of course, India has a long way to go, but I think that it's a good place for us to kind of at least start these conversations. So thank you,
Yeah, I
Adya.
mean, I hear what you said. I attended these dance conferences in the US where you have women carrying three toddlers, one of whom is feeding, and in the middle of the conference, she's feeding the kid. Like and the kid is bawling, the diaper needs to be changed, and nobody in the conference has a problem. Nobody has this issue of being unprofessional, which we somehow make it a case here. So, I mean, I would really hope that this becomes a place where we can actually sort of demand this thing. क्योंकि dance तो work है नहीं ना, वो तो कुछ और ही है. तो that's the natural, like, narrative. So I mean, yeah, I would really hope that something comes up. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Adya.
No, I think in India, we as a community should start rather than waiting for structures to come in, because this has been like I said, 18 years ago, it was the same thing when I took my child to my rehearsal space, and that was the first day of the rehearsal, and he was crying. He was crying through his throat, and then right from the next day, they said, it's better you don't bring the child in because it doesn't look
Yeah.
professional. And yeah, we can't wait for structures. I think it's the
What I meant was that
we
we
have to
as dance community, we
the
should
community, exactly, yeah.
just to start with the dance community. But like, for example, we were talking about things like having spaces where uh, uh, fellow artists who want to watch each other's work, if they're bringing their children with them, to perhaps seek them near an exit rather than tell them not to come with their kid, because there's so many performances that happen where they say children under 15 are not allowed, or you're just vocally discouraged from bringing a child. So I think twice about it, because I don't want to be that mother who's brought a child and who may halfway through the performance say I've had enough, but it's important for us to be able to say no. Hey, I want to be able to bring my child for a performance, and it's your responsibility as the artist who wants to organize this program to provide a space for me to sit where I can watch the performance, and if necessary be close enough to an exit to be able to leave without disturbing the performance, and do things like, for example, all of Vyuti shows, children are, I've always said that children are more than welcome to come, because we as artists, we are also used to disruption in performances for various reasons, and people cough, people get up and leave in the middle of a performance, people walk in, the doors are creaking, the light comes in through the thing. So if we are able to tolerate all of that, why not a child that cries for like 5 minutes or 5 seconds before they're ushered out? So yeah, of course, the community as a whole needs to start this for sure. Radhika, could you unmute and also show us your face, please? Hi.
Hello. So it was so good to listen to everyone's experiences. Just a disclaimer, I'm not a mother, but I'm here to, just understand how both the things go hand in hand when it comes to motherhood and dance, especially when it is something as close as the body, which is working. So, while I'm also navigating these decisions in my head, and that's one of the reasons I also wanted to, listen to all of you. I just have two questions, and I don't have the answers to it, and maybe I would get some clarity. So I work as an arts educator in a school space. Plus, I also have my own institute where I teach. So my question is as to how do we navigate motherhood and the two roles, or if someone can guide me as to where do I have to, if I don't want to use the word compromise, but where do I have to uh, compromise, or where do I have to think really as to uh, I have to stop here and make this decision, or maybe this has to be left right now to be able to do this. And uh, I don't know if I'm able to be very clear about my question. Uh, but like when you are working out, when you have a dancing career, and when you are teaching also, when you're teaching in a school space also, then is there something which we should be keeping in mind while navigating a decision or making a decision to be a mother, is what my question is. Or I heard everyone's stories, but I wanted to know how all of you navigated through that decision. Was it a conscious choice, or you had to say no to certain things because the situation demanded it, or you could do everything at the same time, is what I wanted to know. I don't know if my question is clear enough. I'm not too sure. Anyone can answer that based on your experience.
Any of the three of you, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know whether I'll be able to answer that question completely, because again, it's as I said when I spoke also, it's very personal. How to deal with the motherhood. Like each person deal with it in a very different way. But as I said, there are certain common points, where we kind of can share and get some I won't say advice. Uh, when you listen to people, when you hear somebody's experience, it actually helps you think better, is what I have understood. So as far as I understood, mm, um, I think I don't think there is a perfect way of preparing yourself for motherhood. That's what I understood, because you are going to do it in your own way. When it comes to career, like, since you mentioned you're teaching in two different places, you're a performer as well. Um, I would say, because motherhood, as we look from outside, we hear about the good things, but there's a lot of things we have to go through in order to, enjoy that sweetness, I would say. Like, it's not all just the nice feeling that you experience as a mother, but definitely, yes, you have to go through certain struggles. So, when it comes to teaching, my experience I would share was like, I started teaching when my child, was like, as I said, like I started working when she was 6 months. So definitely it was not, the organization didn't really, support me. That's the reason I had to quit. It was an academic school. Of course, they had their own set of rules. So, I experienced that in order, I think if I didn't experience that, I never would have found a solution. So because I was never given that support from the organization, because they always used to every year when I had to continue for the next year, they used to ask me like, are you planning for the second child, these kind of questions. But because of certain circumstances like financial, I had to be with all these questions. But when I had to go through these things is when I started really thinking about, why don't I start my own institution. So that's how I found a solution where I could be a little more independent, and where I could use the support system, is what I found. That's how I found the solution. Because when I was completely depending on the organization, I couldn't, I would say, like, I was not really motivated. So that was the reason why I kind of started my own institution. And I found support, like, whatever support I had, you know, I used it to motivate myself and challenge myself to, uh, balance, I would say. It was not easy. It's not going to be like, once we decide, it's going to happen smoothly. Um, there's going to be days where you're going to break down. There are days where you are going to get motivated, uh, appreciate yourself. So I think you have to, there is no one answer to it. You have to figure out as you journey. And I would say, these kind of discussion will actually prepare you to, go through that journey, is what I would, give as an answer. Rather than find a particular answer, you prepare yourself to navigate and find the solution for yourself to balance, because it's definitely not going to be easy, especially in the dance world, from whatever experience I have. Because when it comes to teaching, um, uh, the income, unlike the corporate world where there is paternity leave, they are being paid during their leaves, but we do not have that luxury. We have to figure out ways. We have to be creative in that area as well, to make sure our income is steady and consistent. So that's what I felt. I don't know whether it answered your question, but yeah, I think, yeah.
Thank you, Prija. No, I think it answered. I got a bit of clarity, because, as you said, it's very subjective, each to its own, and that journey. So, when you start experiencing it, you only realize, oh, you have to find a solution, and then you find your pathways. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. I think Shubha was next, and then after that we'll go to the other Radhika. Shubha, could you unmute and turn on your video? I can only add you as a pin. Oh.
1 second. My video is, yeah. Hi.
Hi.
Good evening to all of you. It was actually great listening to all of you, because I'm a 53-year-old lady, and I've gone through all what you have told. And I have children, 2 children. My son is around 24 years old. My daughter is a teenager, 18 years. And yes, it was like reliving the past. Whatever you guys had discussed, is immense of struggle from each one of us. And I'm very happy that not just mothers, the people here are both unmarried, single mothers, or however you may call it, but I'm very happy that my daughter was also there, part of this, and I'm just logging in through her. I just changed my name, and she is also listening, because as the person who spoke before me, Radhika, rightly said, she wanted a clarification. There was nobody to give us the clarification. It just we just stepped into motherhood. And you guys are from the dance field, but I am from a corporate. So little bit what helped me, I can probably put it across. Whether it's going to help anyone, let them take the what to say tips from that. One is, yes, the body shaming or body shaming is going to be there forever. You put on little weight, oh, you have put on so much weight. My God, you're not exercising. This is what they say. And the minute you become thin, is everything right with you? Are you feeling sick? No, this is what we hear. First, accept the person as you are. That gave me a lot of, uh, but that took some time. I used to think, oh my God, I started looking so sick. Oh, am I bloated up like that? But see, generally, it is the women who talk about all this to another women. Very few men, I feel, they talk about, I don't think any men talk about this to another lady like that. I don't know, is it that they feel very happy talking like that? I have no idea. So one thing was, I started accepting myself the way I am. Yes, if I am bloated, yes, I am bloated. And there could be multiple reasons for it. Now that I'm going through a menopause, yes, some days I look bloated. Yes, this is the way I am. Accept it the way how I am going to be. Or if I'm thin, if I'm looking sick, yes, I am sick. That's it. Okay. Not giving too much importance to what others say is kind of gives me a lot of peace of mind to myself. And I have told this to my daughter also. Work on yourself. That is very important. Mental, physical health, both are important. But if you say mental health is more important, because it gives a lot of energy and that strength to face the world. Second thing, challenges keeps me pushing, makes me more stronger. Actually, the people who don't support me are the ones actually making me stronger, I feel. Because when I don't get that support, I have to help myself. So a lot of times I have grown that way. And make children part of your work. Whenever we say, oh, it's my children, it's okay. Let people learn to accept, yes, if my child, if a mother is coming, it is along with the child, at least for some time, up to 5 years or 6 years, till the child is able to take care of her own or his own. Then the child sees the mother struggle. But fortunately, there are some men who are very understanding, like Mr. Mahindran, who have been very supportive to Prija. And I'd like to share that my daughter learns from Prija Mahindran. She is her guru. Okay. And so many times I have seen Mr. Mahindran standing there for Prija. It's really nice because this he is I wouldn't say showcasing. My children are seeing, her students are seeing. So tomorrow when they select a person for themselves, they know what to look for in a man. Not just looks, not just career, not just money. You need a person who supports you through your uh, uh, blood and sweat. Simple. That's it. Looks comes secondary. And third, yeah, unfortunately for women, the career clock and the biological go hand in hand. So how much ever you try your best, there is somebody not from outside, but somebody from inside, nothing but the biological clock challenging you all the time. So the more we get prepared right from the beginning, tell our daughters, even tomorrow, if I have to support my daughter-in-law, who might be a career woman or a professional, somebody, I'm there for you. Not just the family, we are there for each other. Like when we see any of our friends kids not cooperating, just don't think, oh, it's someone's child, just go take the child. The child just needs a warmth. One person start doing it, it's like a chain reaction. So I think we all should support each other as mothers, as daughters, as grown-ups, to help each other and be there for each other. Advice is very easy to give, but you follow that advice is the right example that we set for when they see others. Action speaks louder than words. So I feel when somebody does that, no, everybody will follow it. Thank you so much. It was wonderful listening and hearing from all of you. I have learned a lot. One thing I really appreciate is you guys came out with your struggle. It made me feel that I was not the only one who struggled. There are so many others. Every challenge has made you stronger, and I'm really thankful for sharing your struggles and uh, giving me a great learning. Thank you.
Thank you, Shubha. Thank you for your comments and for everything that you said. I think one of the things that I took away from what you were saying was also this idea of uh, a supportive partner or a supportive husband, and the fact that this is celebrated the way that you did, and you rightfully did, of course. I mean, I've also seen the way Mahi has been supporting Prija, but the fact that we have to say this is itself so telling, that we have to say that this is something to be celebrated, but actually in an ideal world this should be the norm. This should be
Exactly.
the way that it is normal. I mean, this is
Yes.
something I've also thought about a lot, and not just me. I think you see it all over social media. You see a lot of conversations happening about it. But it's like if you see a father with their child, then there is just an outcry and outpour of like, oh my god, he's such a great father. And of course, great father, great, but I mean, this should not be something that needs to be celebrated. The
Correct.
fact that it is being celebrated is great, because those fathers that are doing this should be acknowledged, and they should be, encouraged. So I fully support that. But on a deeper level, I think we also need to kind of ask ourselves and ask larger society. We have to ask larger society why we need to celebrate that and why it isn't the norm.
That's okay.
Mama, can you bum? I will go do that. Radhika, may I ask you to unmute yourself, please, and also show us your face so that I can add you. And I will be back.
Hello, hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm very glad that I'm here, and I've always wanted to, have, talk about this topic. So, just to start off with, I had a very planned pregnancy and very planning till, how will I go about my pregnancy and what I will do. And, you have those things planned that what I will do and when I'll get pregnant and how will I go about my career and everything. And fortunately, it was going. Apart from having, uh, postpartum depression and all that, like Meera said, even I was like performing till I was like 4.5 months pregnant, and I was taking my classes and training and giving training, everything. And had my normal delivery. I went with it, and after a terrible. I mean, postpartum depression is just takes you so much. I mean, it is not planned, and you don't even think about it. And nobody tells you. This is the thing I really want to share to to the older generation, that prepare and keep telling that this is going to happen. And apart from giving this goody goody stuff that, oh, pregnancy is wonderful, this and that, I think we should be really transparent about, not just transparent, it's like upfront about this is going to happen, but you will come out strong, like that. So all that happened. And then within a year, I was like coming back to my dance routine, and everything was going according to my plan. But then pandemic hit, and then everything went online, which I just couldn't take it. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm aging, and things are going shutting down, and everything is going like, how am I supposed to take all this thing? And then as I was trying to manage all this thing, another thing hit me. It's like my son got diagnosed with a mild condition, moderate condition of autism, ADHD, and everything just went down. Everything. I was not even thinking about dance, anything related to dance, and I cannot now. And I had to go through all that thing, and I was trying to make things like, how am I supposed to go now? Like I'm not able to take any of these things. And then later, into I went myself into a space where I was not able to do anything, even related to, supporting my child, or even anything in the dance. And as I was going through this will also answer to, Radhika's question, that as I was going through, I realized that me stopping my dance, me stopping my career, was not actually helping to me and to my son also. And slowly I realized it. And fortunately, I also have a very progressive partner who said that you try to go out, think less about what is happened now. You try to come out of it. Just go and try to hit the gym, or try to, try to connect with your old dance friends. You know, it just started with that small thing. And slowly, gradually, I try to, get into my dance, my passion, and get into production and approaching people. And yes, I did face the same problem, like Adya said, that, that's childcare and where to keep, your child when they are so small. And especially when you have this, conditioned child, it's another level. It's like you can't even think about it. But then slowly, even my other dance friends, they started understanding the things, and they were okay with it, and they were supporting me. So when you are into it, when you express it, when you share things, you might get no's from some people, but there are highly chances that you will also get yeses, or supports from people. It's just you have to be courageous enough to come out of it. And now it's a condition that people tell me that you have become more stronger dancer than what you were earlier. And I do feel that, not just as a dancer, as a person. So it just, when you are into it, when I strongly believe that when God puts you into it, it will you will find a way to come out of it. That He will support to make you come out of it. So yes, and I'm still the dance. I think dance itself is such a challenging place that you have to make your own channel sometimes, and it's still challenging. I cannot go for the auditions, and I cannot have too late night practices, and unplanned practices and schedules. But I still manage. It's like now you tell me, and I have become a great manager. If you Mother makes you a great manager if you really look for, if you really stand on the path what you want to, go for it. I mean, that's the thing I want to share, and I'm very happy to hear all that experience from other uh, great dancers, and it really gives a lot of motivation and support, also mental support. Yeah, I mean, I just try to share things.
Thank you so much. Do any of you want to respond to Radhika?
Yeah, I'd like to respond. Radhika, thank you so much for sharing. Can you all hear me okay?
Yeah.
When you were talking and when everybody has spoken so far, I think it's really making me think about the kind of resilience that you develop after you become a mother. All the things you're talking about, planning your day a certain way, or just kind of really just picking yourself back up again and again. I think I feel like that's not talked about enough, about also the kind of strength that, you just are able to kind of pull out from the depths of your life after you become a mother. And that's not to say that we have to continue sort of working like donkeys, but also I think that it really is to say that there are these really wonderful shifts that also help us really re-look at the decisions we make with the kind of wisdom that comes only after, I feel, in some cases after we've become caregivers of children, or in a larger capacity, essentially. Yeah.
Thank you, Avantika and Radhika. I'm just going to get Chitra to come, and then Adya, I'll come back to you after that. Just a second. Usually there's two of us here to do this, but not three. Yeah, Adya. Oh, sorry.
Did you ask me to speak?
No, sorry. I think Chitra
Okay.
had her hand up before you, but I'll come back to you. I promise.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought you said Adya. That's why I was like,
I know I did. Hi, Chitra.
Hi, hi, Haranini. Yeah, I'm so glad I could attend this. This is probably the first time I'm attending your Recognizing. Fantastic. Congrats. You've been going on with it. It's really good. And I'm very happy to have heard all the three ladies speak about their experiences. Yeah, to say I did connect with a lot of things with about everything each of you said, bits and parts of it. Yes, I have two children. My daughter is 21 and my son is 18. So it has been a long journey and it is an ongoing journey. Motherhood is never something that, okay, I'm not changing diapers, so I can take a break. It never happens like that. It's forever and ever, because I can see my mother doing it to me as well. It doesn't end. Having said all that, a lot of people here said how the support system and etc. In my case, it was kind of a little different. I had set the rules myself. Like, I was so hard on myself. Like, okay, so what if I am a mother? I should not stop doing what I used to do before I was. So it was like a self-made rule. That created probably more problems than if I had just let go. I didn't know it at that point of time. And I didn't really know who to talk to about it. All the people around me were professional dancers. And they were all going about their lives like, this is it. Like, literally like soldiers, And I was like, oh my God, if I don't fit in, then what's going to happen? I might just lose something. There was that. And I didn't even realize if I even had a postpartum depression or anxiety. I was going so fast. Like, I had to do this. Everything was revolving around the children's timetable, literally, like right from there, when they were born to, I think one of you even said that you were dancing during your pregnancy. I did that as well. I even performed. It was a webcast from here to London. I was working with the Shobna Jaising dance. So with my 3-4 months of pregnancy, and it was not very visible with my daughter. She's the older one. I did that. And I even did, I had even with my guru, Dr. Lata Srinivasan, there was a performance set, and I was one of the protagonists. And I danced till my 6th month. I was choreographing till my 8th month. And even 1 week before delivery, I was sitting on the bike and going to attend some rehearsal. So it was like, it was not that somebody asked me to do all this. I was like so driven. I said, if I don't do all this, I think something is going to go wrong with my career as a dancer. That, and along with that, a lot of guilt. Like, if I am here during rehearsals and doing this and somebody else is taking, somebody else will be my parents, my husband, all very supportive. We have talked about support within the family. Yeah, all of them very supportive. But then somewhere in the middle, suddenly I'm like, oh my God, these 2 hours, 3 hours when I'm not here and I have left my child. And there are people around you who will make you feel also that, oh, see, you left your child for 2, 3 hours. And that's even worse. You know, you don't know. And like someone mentioned, it is another woman who speaks like that. Not a man. Never mind, did my husband even say a word about anything. He was like, okay, like we're saying, we are very happy with the husbands who are very supportive. Yes, I do appreciate all of it. What I feel is this kind of discussion, I really hope it reaches a larger audience globally. And this is like Arani mentioned, it's not just about in India, it's all over the world. I mean, we talk about progressive minds and progressive families and progressive thinking and all that. Despite all that, I still feel deep inside somewhere, there is that something which is tugging. The very fact that you're a mother is that they look at you, oh, you're a mother. You know, that look is only different. The way they look at you is only different. I'm like, yes, we are different. And I'm very happy about it. I'm very happy that I am a mother. And at no point of time I felt I regret about anything that has ever transpired. I have taken a lot of decisions, weighing the pros and cons and saying, no, I would like to do this and I will say no to this. All that has been done. No regrets about all of it. If somebody said, would you want to live your life all over again? Would you take the same decisions? Yes, I would take the same decisions. No change there. But the fact that I was not able to speak like this to anybody 21 years ago is like, I feel, I wish there was some kind of a platform, not of course online, but somewhere people would already become mothers and had taken up dance as their career. I wish they had taken this initiative and done something like talked about this. And probably I wouldn't have been so hard on myself. And I would have probably enjoyed everything, dancing as well as motherhood. Sometimes I feel, oh, I did not give my 100% to both. May have happened, may not have happened. Like I said, I'm not really feeling bad about it, but there is always that doubt, that self-doubt is. Of course, now, especially after the pandemic, a lot of things changed. The whole perspective about living only has changed. I mean, your family was with you 24 hours. That itself is like, oh my God. It never happened. It was never like that. I had my time, my space. Children had their time. My husband had his time. Everybody had their, we all came and stayed, my in-laws and their sisters, we all stayed together in one house. And that itself was like, you know, we didn't know what was happening. And it took a good 2-3 years to figure out that. And I'm still shuttling between places in Bangalore because things have changed like that. In the midst of it, my children also need me, my parents need me, my in-laws need me, my husband needs me, everybody needs me. Of course, I need everyone. I'm just sharing. So I'm very happy that I was able to, this is just like in a capsule form. I'm just saying what I went through as being a mother and, like I said, an ongoing journey. Yeah.
Thank you, Chitra. I think, Meera, do you want to say something?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Chitra. The kind of guilt that we go through, we are 100% neither here, 100% not there. And one more important point that I think we can take it seriously, if not the physical structures, but at least structure where we are able to reach out to more women and more women know that there are other women struggling. Like for me, this is the first time I'm like, wow, I'm not alone. There are so many women struggling like this. So setting up some kind of a system, maybe on Instagram, sharing our stories will help, other women get a lot of moral strength. I think even just that is enough to feel not alone, not being alone. So yeah, thanks for that.
Thanks, Mira, for saying that, because actually that was one of the big motivations to do a discussion like this. And also, and thank you, Chitra, for sharing all that so candidly. It was, I could see how honestly you spoke, and there was so much vulnerability also. And I think Adya or someone had said in the chat that, we must embrace this vulnerability instead of, trying to shy away from it. So thank you so much for sharing this. And what you said about just pushing yourself hard is, I think, I don't know if this is 20 years later, the same thing happening again, but I felt exactly in the same position when I was pregnant in 2018. Just like I danced in my first month of pregnancy, then the second month of pregnancy, in the fourth month of pregnancy, in the sixth month of pregnancy, in the eighth month of pregnancy. And I didn't give myself any time to recover from the C-section. I went straight back into teaching, straight into this, that, da, da, da. And a part of me prided myself in that, but another part of me was also very aware of the fact that I was running myself into the ground only because I was worried that that space that I have so carefully created for myself in the dance world, this tiny space that I've created for myself, will go. And that fear was so palpable and was so real for me that I was just like, no, I cannot stop. I cannot give myself a break. Now, when my child is 5 years old, now is when I have given myself a break. For the first time, I've given myself a break now, where I've said, okay, I'm going to take a break from teaching. I'm going to take a break from things that I don't want to do. I'm going to focus on the one or two things that I would really like to do and prioritize myself. And, I'm not going to teach yoga to other people. I'm going to do yoga for myself. And all of that is all coming now, 5 years later. So, I think that itself is also very telling, that someone like you who had a child 21 years ago and someone like me who had a child only 5 years ago are still trapped in this rut of like that fear that, if we don't keep the wheels moving, that's going to be the end for us, or that we'll be forgotten, or that the dance world will not have a space for us anymore. So it's really good to hear you talk about it, and also to have this point of reference, and to know that there are so many of us, like Mira, what you were saying, that there are so many of us who are struggling with this, and that now we can, kind of have a conversation and take this conversation further. And Avantika started a network for new mothers, and how a support system for new mothers. Like, these are all really positive developments that we should maybe take forward in some way as a collective. Also something that Adya was saying, speaking of which, I think Adya was going to say something, and then after that there's somebody else's hand, Janani, and yeah, Adya, please carry on.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you, Chitra, for this statement of being too hard on yourself, of demanding the best of yourself on all fronts, professional, mother, wife, like all these hundreds of roles that you play. You don't give yourself even like this much of chance to sort of, And I remember this one woman in my life, a close relative said, when I was complaining about this at one point of time, and my kids must be like pre-teenagers, like 10, 12 or something, this woman said, oh, think of yourself like the Devi, 10-handed goddess you are. And I was like, and this is something that I am still told today, that, oh, you have like you put your kids through college, and then, you're this successful academic, and you're this 10-headed goddess, and 10-handed, 100-headed. And I'm like, I don't want to be this goddess. I don't want to be this person on which this burden of being this sort of, manager, or like, oh, I have it all under control. Like, I have managed to run my house and look after my in-laws and do all of this and do my PhD and do this. And like, I don't want to be adding and to it really all the time. And there is really no space. Yeah, superwoman, right? I mean, thank you for that word. And you start taking pride in like, oh, I'm the superwoman, like, and then you end up teaching your daughter to do the same thing. That or your son to expect the same thing from his partner. Invariable, even if you don't speak it, because that's what you're doing. You never really take rest. You never really say, nahi hota mujhse ab, I can't do it anymore. Never do we say no. So I just wanted to, when I wrote in the chat, I realized I end up using a lot of academic jargon. My husband says your talking has become academic. So I really meant to say that it's okay to be vulnerable, and it's okay to, and we have to wear that as a badge of honor, and not be this, like, if a guy says that, oh, I'm too tired, I'm from home, like, I used to tell my husband, I said, you know what, irrespective of what work you do and what work I do, you have no ideas if the kids need new undergarments. Like, you have no idea if they need new uniforms and where their uniforms come from or which brand of rice do we eat. He has no idea. Uh, but in the family, we are all judged professionally, ek saath. Like, it's all the same thing. Oh, he's doing, and I'm like, just give me a chance. Just let him run the house for 5 years. Just let him do that. But yeah, I think we should not like applaud ourselves for being this Durga avatar. And people kept telling me, Adya naam hai, Adi Shakti, you are this goddess with 10 hands. And I'm like, no, I don't want to be this goddess. I'm sick of being a goddess and putting me on a pedestal, which means I cannot make a mistake. I cannot falter. And that if I do make a mistake, I carry the guilt of that all the time. So yeah, I just wanted to sort of add to what Chitra was saying. So thank you, Chitra, for that, saying that.
Thank you, Adya. I would also like to add to this. I remember during the pandemic, I saw something on social media. It was an image of a woman in a salwar kameez, and she had an oxygen tank and an oxygen mask, and she was in the kitchen cooking. And the caption said, look at how amazing mothers are. Even in this state, they are able to provide for their children and all that. And my first reaction was this was stop this toxic glorification of motherhood and this exact same affliction that we have of trying to turn this into some sort of thing to be celebrated. And because actually what it does is it puts more pressure. It puts more
Goddess
pressure
complex.
on
I
women.
think it's called a goddess complex.
Yeah, it puts more pressure on the women, and it gives the rest of society a cop out. The actually the response to that photo should have been, what kind of people are you that she's so sick and you're letting her cook for you? Like, what kind of children are you? What kind of husband are you that she's so unwell that she needs oxygen and you can't get up and hold a ladle and cook some simple dal rice or something? So it's like this toxic glorification and this superwoman thing and what this goddess complex. All this is also, it's kind of tied up to this motherhood penalty thing, and this is the reason why women are forced by society and their surroundings to leave the workforce and go just take up child care full time, which they're doing anyway even when they are working. Yeah, but this pressure to not be, and it is difficult to do that, both those things full time, unless you have a support system that will allow you to do that. Yeah, so that's what I would like to add. I think that Janani has been wanting to say something for a while. And Aditi, are you around? Aditi wanted to say something as well. Hi, Janani.
Hi. Yes, no. So I just wanted to say that, yes, I completely resonate with what Chitra mentioned and what you said about there constantly being a FOMO of missing out on something while you're either pregnant or in postpartum. I've done it. Guilty for having done it to myself both times. I should have learned at least the second time around that there was nothing to miss out on, but I still did it. And I think also being not just being applauded for the many things that you do, but also being told, oh, you don't look like a mother. And for some reason, it's supposed to be a compliment. I don't know when we break that. And also, yes, being hard on oneself, I think I still have the dilemma of whether I choose the work or the child sometimes. today I was supposed to be reviewing my performance, and I didn't go because I assumed my son would be cranky at 7. And I don't trust anybody else to handle the crankiness. So I know that's self-inflicted, that if I still went, I'm sure somebody would figure out how to handle him and how to handle the crankiness at that point in time, but I didn't go. So I guess that's on me, but I think we're all still learning how to navigate every stage of childhood and parenting. But yes, resonating with everything that has been discussed.
But Janani, I think you're being hard on yourself, because when you say that it's self-inflicted, this what you're talking about right now, about not being able to go for something because you didn't trust anyone to be able to handle his crankiness. Sure, that's partly on you, but it is also partly on the other caregivers that are around you. Like, why is it, and I know that I'm going into slightly sensitive territory here, but this is not just about you. Like, I had the same thing, and I think millions of mothers across the world have this issue as well. Is where we don't have the trust, but also, is it only our job to get to earn that I mean, not earn that trust, but to get that trust from other people? Isn't it other people's responsibility as well to provide you with that trust, so that you can go without having to worry about this?
Uh,
Like, so what I'm saying is that it's not just you, it's not just you.
No, I think so. I've had a discussion actually with my mother when my children were a little younger, and she said, "You have to let go first, uh, and then everything will fall into place." Uh, so I still find that difficult. So no, it is self-inflicted,
Certainly.
at
Okay.
least in my case.
All right.
Also, I would like to add to what, so again, since she was telling, Janani was telling about like how the trust, I don't know if it is 11, but yes, I never had, like, I didn't have my, other than my husband, and any other family, supporting me, taking care the child, for a brief period of time my mother could, but yes, she was not in a physical state to give me that, even though she wanted to, but it definitely, a situation like that demanded, to share the responsibilities. This is my experience, because I also had these kind of fear whether my husband will be able to do it like how I will do it, initially. But I learned how to let go, as as Janani was telling, like only then I could start trusting my husband, in fact, with my child. You know, the one main reason for that, because I didn't have any other support system, and my I used to send my child to a daycare. Again, as I said, like because of certain circumstances, I didn't have a choice. I had to work. So I either had to, like, put her in a daycare. I couldn't trust any nannies, and we couldn't afford as well. So the choice was like either I work or my husband work. So at that point of time, I got a job. So thankfully, he didn't have that pride of saying like, I can't stay home. So that was one moment I actually realized, like when we let go a little bit is when, as Anyani also said, added, the trust factor comes. When I went through a particular situation like that, I had to let go and trust. I think women generally have that thing of, and especially women, I feel like, and mothers, we definitely have that problem. I would say it is a problem because, we do not trust anybody else with our child. I know multiple factors, but at some point we also need to let go, to understand who can be trusted as well. If if we do have an option, if we are not ready to, then I don't think like, we are going to be hard on ourselves. So I thought I'll just add to what Janani was telling.
Thank you,
See,
Prija.
I think, sorry, I think we need to go back to this age-old proverb of it takes a village to raise a child, right? So, again, we are just too hard on ourselves and not letting go. And look at the language and narratives that we are using. Other than my husband supporting me and my mother supporting me, that's what you said right now, rather than using, we supporting the child. And I think we, I don't know, as humans or as people who are living in big metropolitans, we need to go back to that system of a village bringing up a child. There has to be a system. We can't do it single-handedly. We can't do it single-handedly. We have to accept that it's not necessary to be a superwoman. It's not even possible to be a superwoman. I think all this is just unnecessarily tagged on us. So yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for saying that, Mira. I think Chitra has to say something, and it's also 8:20. Just before Chitra, before you say anything, there's a couple of chats. So there's a couple of people in the chat box that wanted to say something. One was Aditi Rao from Hyderabad. She's a Bharatanatyam dancer, and she said so many insights from everyone. Thank you all. I'm 33, married for 9 years, and I'm not a mother. She can't speak right now because she's in a very noisy place. I'm not a mother, and I have not internally felt the urge or need to have my own. Since the time I've thought of raising a child, I decided I would adopt. Adoption is still a very abnormal idea in Indian families. And when you say you don't feel the need, and when you say that you don't feel the need to become a mother, it comes as a surprise to many. And me being a dancer, the first thing that comes to their head is, oh, she's doing it because of her career. Anyone who has not wanted to have children of their own, or have thought of adoption, or have thought of the pressure of having your own and linking it with your career, this is the question that they get asked, or this is what she feels that people say about them. Oh, she's career oriented, as though it's a negative thing. So anyone who has any experiences, please do share. Sorry, I'm at a family event and can't unmute and talk. Unfortunately, we don't have time to get into this discussion, but I think it is a very important discussion of that dichotomy that society has created between motherhood and careers, as though they cannot go hand in hand, as though they're mutually exclusive. Or if you want to be a mother, then you can't have a career, or if you want to be career oriented, then you're not maternal. Or that, that kind of contradiction is something that I think is a subject for a whole other discussion as well. And Nenita also said something. Thank you for this conversation. I'm not a mother yet, but the back and forth on even having a child has sometimes left me bothered due to a career pause that women go through, or a burnout for pushing through. I joined in to hear from mothers like yourselves, and this really helped. Sometimes I feel that trying to be dancers and making it as dancers, we forget other aspects of our lives. Bottom line, I would like to say that we can take it at a pace that works for us, and no one can take that away from us. Writing this as I need to sign out of the meeting. So these are all fruits for thought. Chitra, are you still there? Would you like to ask the last question or make the last comment?
Sorry, I didn't have anything to say or add. I just didn't figure out how to remove my hand from there.
Oh, right. Okay. All right then. So I think I think that's a good place to close the conversation. And I just want to end by thanking all of you for speaking. Thank you, Avantika, Mira, Prija, for sharing your thoughts and experiences. And thank you to all of you who contributed to the open interaction. I think it really did bring about a lot of aspects and really gave us a lot to think about. And I hope that this will not be the only conversation that we have. I will try to connect any of you who are interested to that network in Europe, because I think that they're having some conversations that we may be able to kind of use as a springboard and adapt it to the situation in India. And I hope that we can maybe start a network of our own as well, of Indian mothers who are dancers, dancing mamas, who can maybe start to do something about the systemic changes that we can make, to bring about to make it less hard on ourselves, and to make it less hard on the younger generation of dancers who are either hesitating to become mothers because they're worried, or are thinking about whether they should or shouldn't, or are already new mothers and don't know what's going to happen to their careers. So I hope that this is an ongoing conversation. Thank you, everyone. I also wanted to say, this is not related to recognizing dance, but I also wanted to say that if there are any of you that would like to join an initiative that I have started 15 days ago, it's called Indian Dancers for Gaza's Children. We're having fundraisers across the country and across the world now to raise money for the children that are suffering in Palestine. We're working with an organization called the Jerusalem Basma Center that is going to be that works with children in Palestine who have been either injured or disabled due to this ongoing conflict. So they're dealing with burn victims, they're dealing with amputees, they're dealing with orphan children, they're dealing with malnourished children. So if you would like to contribute to this, please write to me or message me and be a part of this initiative. It's a humanitarian initiative. It is not a political one. This has nothing to do with what's going on there politically. This has to do with suffering children. And the children we know in any ongoing conflict, whether it's between religious communities or whether it's between different countries or whatever the reason, the children are not the ones that are fighting this battle. They're not the ones that are involved in any of the adult stuff, but they are the ones that are being targeted in this crisis. So I would urge you to join the cause and contribute as much as you can. I also would like to just end by saying, I know some of you mentioned Maha, and I've really missed her today because of having to juggle everything, but she has moved on from recognizing dance and is now conducting her independent research and curation. So recognizing dance is something that I'm trying to take forward on my own. But I would like to take this opportunity, since it's the first recognizing dance event without her, to wish her all the best for her future endeavors. And yes, all of you as well, thank you all for coming, and I wish you all the best, and I hope to see you at more recognizing dance events and discussions. And with that, we can say goodbye. Let's all go back to our babies.
Thanks, Aranyani. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
I will
Thanks,
stop.
everybody.